Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Becoming Bob. I'm Alex and today I'm painting along with episode 7 of The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. I've got my canvas there and it's already coated with a layer of liquid white. Now I'm going in with alizarin crimson and Prussian blue, just making some crisscrosses up in the sky. It's a beautiful sunrise, sunset kind of color, depending on which direction you're looking. Adding a little bit more of the crimson there. And now adding a little bit more of the Prussian blue underneath that to add some darkening towards the horizon. Now, with a little bit more of the phthalo green added in, I'm pulling paint in from both sides of the canvas to create a watery effect there at the bottom half. Now after cleaning and drying the brush, I'm going in to blend all those colors together up in the sky. I'm just trying to make it nice and even without destroying the gradient. Got my fan brush there, and I'm taking a mixture of the permanent red and titanium white, just kind of mushing it around up in the sky to produce some nice fluffy clouds. A couple production things on this episode. First off, this camera angle stopped filming about halfway through the episode because the memory card got full. I had checked on the other camera to make sure it was good, but that one ran out. Also, you can see my earphone piece dangling down in front of me there. In order to start the episode, I had to push the button and then quickly get on to the camera view, so I didn't have time to tuck it in through my shirt like I normally do. You can see now I've got my knife out and taking a mixture of blue, brown, and red going up in the sky there to put in a mountain. And now with the 2-inch brush, kind of pulling those slopes down, creating that base color. Making sure to pull it down in the direction that the slopes are going to be. So that helps to add to the three-dimensionality of the mountains when they're done. I've got my knife back out there and a mixture of white with the base color of the mountains. Just kind of adding in the lighter highlights, the snow and rocks that would be visible there. And now I've added some more blue in there and I'm putting in the shadow parts. Now with the 2-inch brush, I'm going in to kind of make it look misty there at the bottom, that peak. And now back in with the fan brush to add in another layer of those fluffy clouds. Just fluffing those up with the dry 2-inch brush. Now going in with that palette knife again, putting some white to put highlights on the other peak there. And this method really adds a lot of three-dimensionality to the mountains and a lot of detail. Looking at it up close, it just looks like a smeary mess when you're doing it, but yeah, even from this camera angle, it looks pretty good. I really like the effect that it creates in such little time. Now just switching back to clouds again, bringing those wrapping around the peaks and pushing them back into the distance. Cleaning off my brush a little bit there, making sure it's nice and dry for fluffing those clouds up. And back in with the knife again to put in another layer of mountains. Yeah, you can see there, Bob always says to really push the paint into the canvas, but when you're doing this and you push, I found that it just kind of pushes the paint out on either side of the knife. You can really kind of see that here. Trying to put some highlights on those little peaks up front quickly there. Now back in with the shadow. Now mixed up a nice green color, coming in from the side there. Sap green mixed with some alizarin crimson. Van Dyke brown. Just bringing in some nice sloping green foothills up in front there. I'm now pulling that 2-inch brush straight up to kind of try and simulate the effect of a bunch of trees way off along that ridgeline there. You have to pull directly up to get the effect to work quite right, and I'm worried that mine kind of ended up looking a little bit more like grass. But this was just my first time with that particular technique, so I'm sure it'll get better with time. Now I've got my 1-inch brush, the more yellowish mix there, and just adding some more foliage closer up. Blowing a little peninsula out into my water down there. Now with the 2-inch brush, just pulling down the reflections from those shrubs along there. I think it's interesting how Bob, whenever he has water in his paintings, will paint the entire bottom half of the painting with the water effect, and then go in and paint the land on top of it. You know, at first I thought that seemed like kind of a waste of time and paint, but as far as the effect goes and the way that reflections and everything on the water works, it really works a lot better that way. Just putting a little bank of land there underneath the plants. And now putting in another base color for more foliage. Getting closer, pushing everything back with every new layer that I put on there, just adding to the depth in the painting. And another darker layer on the other side there. Just working fast with that 1-inch brush. And pulling down the reflections there along the bottom. And dragging it across to create that ripply water effect. Now back in with the straight Van Dyke brown to add in a few tree trunks and branches amongst my kind of base foliage layer. Mixing up a highlight color there using some liquid white to help it thin out, because of course a thin paint sticks to a thicker paint. The one problem I have usually when I'm doing this is I can't quite get all of the liquid white to mix in evenly, and so when I'm dabbing it on there, it'll a lot of times transfer the white, and you end up with white bits in with the trees. That's something I'm working on, but you can kind of see where there's still some that's making it onto the paintings. Just trying to vary the color up a little bit there with a little bit more red. And now just adding in the land along the bottom of that little peninsula. Still haven't quite got the hang of adding in that water line. The first water line I put in on this painting I think went really well, but those two, you can just see how messy they are. Now with my 2-inch brush, right up big in the sky there, putting in that dark base color for a nice big tree on the left side of the painting. And it's cool how you build trees in this technique. It's really simple. You just put in a dark base color, then go in and put in the trunk and all the branches, and then come back in with your highlight color for all the leaves on top of that. And it just makes the tree look so much more complex and detailed and three-dimensional than you would really expect to get in this little a time. And of course, this version of the episode has been edited for time, but if you do want to see the full version of any of my paintings, I do upload those episodes as well. They contain more commentary, and they just show you, start to finish with no cuts, the entire painting. Now on the right side, putting in another tree. This one with no foliage though. It's just an old dead one. Trying to pull the knife a little bit to create that texture and kind of a curve around like you would get on the trunk and the branches, but not create it too wide or too smeary. You want it to be nice and defined there. Now going in with permanent red to add some highlights. Bob had mixed his permanent red with linseed oil, but I could not get the cap off of my bottle of linseed oil when I went to do this, so that's just straight paint going on there, and because of that I feel like it went on a little too strong. I'll back in with my 1-inch brush. We're gonna find a little bit of foliage right up along the bottom edge of the painting there. Just adding those highlights in. I'm trying to do my best to create individual plants. Now adding those details, just scratching in the sticks and twigs with the palette knife there. Just getting a little paint thinner on the script liner brush and dragging it through the permanent red again, because this painting is complete, and now it's time for me to add my signature. If you like what I'm doing here, please like and subscribe to my channel. Find me on Facebook, and if you know anyone that would be interested in seeing this, pass it along to them too. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.